So my name is Natanya van der Lingen, and I'm from Moodle, from the head office, so we often call ourselves Moodle HQ. Could I have a hand, put your hand in the air if you know about Moodle? Have you heard about Moodle before? Fantastic, one or two. Anybody here using Moodle at your organization?
Why is your organization?
Okay, a few. Well, if not, we'll tell you all about it. So Moodle is the largest open source learning management system in the world. I've got a couple of statistics to tell you a little bit about it. Being open source, it's free to download, and so universities and other educational institutions and even workplaces can download Moodle for free. It has almost 4 million users worldwide, 2.3 billion user sites. Sorry, let me try that again. 4 million individual users, 46,000 courses in 42 languages. I think half of them must be at UNISA. UNISA is a very big user of Moodle, and it is the largest open source LMS in the world. So here to discuss a little bit more about it, I have 3 colleagues, and I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves, and then we're going to have a lovely discussion and talk a little bit further about learning management systems and how to implement them at large-scale implementation sites such as universities and other higher education organizations. So let me introduce you to my first colleague closest to me, Matabo.
Thanks, Natanya. I am Matabo Nakeni Mgengwi. I'm the Vice Principal ICT and CIO at UNISA.
Thank you. I'm Naledi Mhohlo. I'm from Adapt IT. I lead the business unit called Digital Transformation for Learning under Adapt IT Education's division. Thank you.
Hi everybody, I'm Stefan Duplessis. I'm the CEO for Eiffel Corp.
Fantastic. So Moodle, as I said, is an open source platform that you're welcome to download on your own, and you can install it and scale it quite easily using your own technology and your own staff. However, when it becomes a very large installation, we as an organization highly recommend working with one of our certified partners. So Moodle has a network of 70 individual certified Moodle partner installers. These are IT consultant companies around the world, and many of them work in multiple regions, so we have over 100 partnerships, including several here in South Africa that service the whole of Africa. So as has been introduced, we have Naledi, who is from Adapt IT, one of our South African-based partners, and Stefan from Eiffel Corp, another one of our South African-based partners. We do also have Matabo from UNISA, and unfortunately the other member of the panel from the University of Johannesburg was not able to make it with us today. That's Dr. Joshi. She unfortunately is ill, so she offers her apologies. But we are hoping to have an interesting discussion about universities and LMS installers. So maybe I can start with you, Naledi, and say, how would you describe an LMS or a learning management system?
Thanks, Natanya. I'm one to believe that technology is an enabler. So an LMS, a learning management system, is a platform that enables teaching and learning through technology. Typically, an LMS would have student administration component, so the registration of students onto the platform. It would have assessments criteria, it would have reporting, dashboards, student performance reports, just to mention a few. So in a nutshell, it's a platform that enables teaching and learning through technology. Thank you.
Fantastic. And Matabo, why has your university decided to go with Moodle as your chosen LMS?
I think for UNISA, what's very important is when it comes to teaching, learning, and research, to be able to have a platform that we can be able to scale with and that would respond to the different needs of UNISA. Given our size and us being the leader in distance education, we really wanted to find a solution that we would be able to get it to fit us over time. And I think that that's what we've been working on with the support of Adapt IT. So that ability for Moodle, because of its open source nature, has really met us in our area of need to have a solution that we can really scale with and grow with over time, and that can respond to our particular needs, and that we can also be able to work towards that very customized, personalized experience for our students. And that's really an important ambition for us from a digitalization experience to drive experience.
Fantastic. And so UNISA installation is an enormous installation.
Yes.
Moodle often uses that as a case study because it is such a very large installation. And I wonder why you decided not to do it yourself, but rather to work with an implementation partner, Adapt IT.
Well, because of the size of our community when it comes to our students and our academics, it's important for us to be able to prioritize service and prioritize availability, and those are some of the issues that we are working towards getting right with Adapt IT. So working with a partner was logical, but also considering that we still need to grow our team from a support and maintenance perspective, and we really wanted to have a roadmap towards that that we could work with.
Indeed. And so give us a sense of how large that installation is. How many students, how many courses?
So UNISA, we have currently in this year just over 365,000 students. And just to give you a sense of our assignments, we easily in a year can do more than 8 million assessments in terms of our students. So that's a seriously complex environment, but one that is good to work with.
Yes.
Given that we graduate over 30% of the sector in higher education.
Fantastic. And Stefan, from your perspective, working with IFO Corp, what are the greatest challenges that you see universities and other large educational organizations face when they're installing an LMS?
Yeah, good question. Thanks, Natanya. I always look at it, the core competency of a university is not necessarily to install and maintain an LMS, right? They have a bigger, more important mission than that. It's a tool in the arsenal for any particular university. So particular challenges that we identify and that we work with these institutions to overcome is understanding that the architecture for cloud-hosted Moodle is different and unique per institution. The integration into their already existing technology ecosystem. A lot of institutions we speak to, the LMS, they refer to it as the spine of the organization in terms of teaching and learning, and a lot of administration. So understanding that unique context, making sure that it's a seamless experience for the user. The LMS is a service to the students and the lecturers. That's one of the big things. When you move from a legacy LMS or other LMS to Moodle, that migration of masses of data and course content, right, that's one of the big things that we worked with at University of Venda, University of Johannesburg, for example, where you're migrating thousands of courses, and it's not click of a button. It's to ensure that there's quality in the platform, quality learning experience is the platform, and then scalability, already referred to. It's a challenge at every institution, especially in terms of concurrent users, because unique to an LMS is something where typical platforms won't have 80,000 people logging on at the same time, clicking on the same button. But with assessments, that is a challenge for universities and LMS providers. So those are some of it's just the scale, but the unique scale. Mm-hmm. That is one of the things that you really have to understand what level of service that particular institution is looking to deliver to their stakeholders.
Indeed. And you mentioned the University of Venda and the University of Johannesburg, who are two of your clients. Any specific interesting setups or situations with those that you would like to discuss with us?
I think from a Univen perspective, they moved from a US-based proprietary provider to Moodle, specifically once again, and University of Johannesburg, exactly the same use case, but they were looking for more flexibility in terms of integration, but also reporting. And as your proprietary providers move to a software as a service model, there is less flexibility. By its nature, they have to cater for the larger North American dominant markets. So interesting there is understanding the reporting requirements for the institutions, integrating with student information systems from Adapt IT, for example. That's a key part. And then just really the scale of migration effort, where it really isn't, I mentioned that earlier, it isn't just click of a button and suddenly my course goes from that platform into Moodle. It really is, and I mean, the time pressure that you have to do that under, and the quality expectations from the institution and the lecturers, right? All of that you wrap around change management services, because we all have dealt with academics where even if one little button has changed in the LMS, that is a massive change process to manage. So I think there's just a lot of complexity, but that deep understanding of the context of your users is really where we zoom in on when we do these projects.
Fantastic. Naledi, from your perspective from Adapt IT, what do you think some of the greatest challenges are?
Thanks, Natanya. I absolutely agree with Stefan on everything that he's mentioned. So ensuring that you've got the correct infrastructure and architecture in place to deliver that seamless service to both the learners and the lecturers. But in addition to the technical challenges that Stefan has mentioned, I would also mention training, right? So if there isn't ongoing training during the implementation and post, there won't be, the solution won't be adopted as easily as you would have liked it to be. Ensuring that stakeholders are engaged during and post implementation is also important. Now, when I say stakeholders, remember that there's a student who sometimes is forgotten when institutions make such decisions, but they are the institution's customer, right? So it's the students, or the learners, and then the lecturers, it's the ICT department, all stakeholders have to be involved and have to understand the process, because when you've got buy-in, you get ownership, and it's not, the CIO's LMS, it's everybody's LMS. So I would also say policies. So institutions should have policies that are guiding principles toward the implementation of the LMS. I think that about sums up the other things that are non-technical. I don't know, Mathab, if there's anything you would like to add.
Yeah, I think what we've been very good at UNISA is the continuous professional development for academics on the system. We've got a dedicated team that looks after that, and we run the courses. They're available on demand, but we also have a program that we work through. So your point about training becomes very, very important. UNISA is also very good because of our distance education model, where the institution has been very successful for the last 150 years, since 1873. UNISA is very good at providing those kind of very specific learning opportunities in the form of MOOCs for students. So there's an introduction when you start with UNISA on what is distance learning, how does it work, how do we teach online, how do you learn online, and then we provide very specific topics towards that, and sometimes we use multimedia, etc. So we provide those learning opportunities for our academics and our students. Where it becomes, I think, important, and this is what we're exploring with Adapt IT, is more on the technical side when it comes to training, because Stefan, you're quite correct, the issues of concurrency, the issues of scale, that hosting it on cloud is very different to on-prem instances. And we had a very successful conference earlier this year, Natanya, for the Africa Moodle Moot, and one of our co-hosting partner, Open University Tanzania, they have a hybrid model. So Stefan, quite correct, the way you run it on-prem versus how you run it on cloud, you have to be cognizant of those types of differences, yeah.
And I think the fact that you bring up other universities in Africa is super important, because not every university runs their LMS, or their needs are the same, right?
Yeah.
So there's a very broad variety of clients who need to who have sometimes the same and sometimes different needs and need to be adaptable enough to, find a platform that's adaptable enough to be able to suit that. Have you heard anything in your discussions with colleagues from other universities about some of the challenges that they've had and how an LMS might overcome that?
Very good question. I think one of the things that we're focusing on post the Africa Moodle Moot and the roundtable that we formed with Moodle HQ to start hosting it annually is to look at disabled needs for that community of students, and what are some of the areas that we need to hone in. That was very important for Open University Tanzania, and is also very important for UNISA because we do have quite a number of disabled students that we cater for. One of the things that we are looking at is where the African Union in general is going in terms of the future of teaching and learning. What does it mean to have micro-credentials and how we bring that about within our communities. And I think a platform such as Moodle gives us that flexibility. It's one of the topics that you as Moodle HQ also pursue. I remember that in your Moodle Moot for 2022, that was quite a key topic. So we're looking at those issues. And then of course there's the infrastructure side, the hosting aspect of it, which is very close to my heart. And that's the area that I'm championing in the roundtable conversations because of our scale as UNISA and how we experience that ability for concurrency to be managed, etc. And I think we're making some very positive headway in the work that we're doing with Adapt IT and how we need to use the various tools to bring that level of positive experience that we're going for. I think we're close.
Work in progress, but I think very big installations are always works in progress. There's always a lot to do as things develop, right? Education is developing, university strategy is developing, and the LMS needs to adapt and develop with that.
Yeah.
So that's very interesting. So you mentioned cloud hosting. Stefan, anything you'd like to add on the value of being hosted in the cloud?
I mean, I think across, if we just focus on the African continent to touch on that, I mean, across the African continent, we all know the stats about it. I mean, biggest growing continent, youngest continent, and probably the most opportunity for growth and most in need of access to quality education. And I mean, there's an arms race in terms of connectivity across the continent, not just from the telcos, but also, Elon Musk is putting satellites up there, Amazon. There is literally a race to connect the earth to the internet. And Africa is going to definitely benefit from that. And education and healthcare should be at the forefront of the industries that benefit from that. And I think the benefits from an education perspective and cloud is just greater access, greater scalability, greater opportunities for personalization of learning. And I mean, the micro-credentialing is a big part of that, bringing industry and education closer together. And just all of the benefits around analytics and what the future may hold from a machine learning perspective, all of that just becomes way more accessible and agile, and innovation just gets, sped up thanks to cloud computing. And I mean, that's why we also, we very much focus our efforts in areas across the continent where connectivity is, the institutions are committed to investing in the requisite infrastructure to enable distance and fully online learning.
And Stefan, while I have you, what about the fact that Moodle is an open source LMS? How does that benefit universities?
Well, the first thing is affordability, right? Affordability plays a major part, right? We're talking about sustainable investment. There's sustainability in terms of, the economic facets, but also, most importantly, if an institution decides to move on from a particular provider of Moodle, that is a sustainable, the fact that it's open source technology, they do not need to shift completely to a new platform. And then it is by far the most customizable LMS available, which is important. Once again, I alluded to the fact that your other international providers are very much focused on where their main markets are. And I think a big part there is also a massive community, a global community of contributors to the mission of Moodle. And globally, most people, most of the issues that are facing institutions in this Moodle space someone out there is trying to solve the same problem, and that is just the power of this massive community.
Spot on, Stefan. So what we've experienced with UNISA is the importance of that collaboration and the importance of that community.
Yeah.
And as Moodle partners, we are privileged to have that access all the
Sure.
time and exchanging ideas and issues with great minds within the Moodle community. So spot on. I think for me, that is the largest benefit of having this open source software, and that everybody can contribute to it and to its development.
And Matabo, sorry, Naledi, what do you think about the future of Moodle? Where do you think it's going? What is the value that it can offer in the future?
I remember when we were at the Moot, the big question was AI and what do we do with it?
Yeah.
So it's controversial sometimes, but do we allow AI to take over, or do we allow learning to continue as it has been? And I think the answer is both, right? These emerging technologies, there's no running away from them, but it's important to ensure that we still do encourage continuous learning in a traditional manner, right? So just because I can get the report written for me using AI doesn't mean I should. And going forth, I think not just from a Moodle perspective, but from an education and learning perspective, that's something that we need to find the balance for. Moodle, however, from a technology perspective, will of course incorporate the use of AI, AR, gamification, VR into the learning experience. But it's just really critical to ensure that it's not surpassed or does not surpass traditional learning.
Do you agree, Stefan?
Oh, no, most definitely. I mean, the AI question is dominating every conference you go to for obvious reasons, right? And it's quite fun to see there's some opposing viewpoints, but that's already just changed in a couple of months, right? There was an uproar, and suddenly most people have come around to it. So for me, from an LMS perspective, Moodle perspective, there's the lecturer, administrator experience and the student experience. I'm very excited from a lecturer experience. I think a lot of what we deal with is that lack of understanding of the LMS, and I think AI can really, as a virtual assistant, virtual teaching assistant for a lecturer built into the platform, I'm very excited to see where that goes. And I know, Moodle is committed to the responsible application of AI across the board, so it really isn't just about harvesting your data and selling it off. So I'm quite curious to see where that goes from an admin perspective, how machine learning can accelerate the time to insight with that masses of data available to lecturers and administrators. On the student side, I mean, when we say chatbot now, we all think about that irritating thing that pops up on a website, but built into a learning management system, truly integrated, post-authentication into an experience for a student. I mean, I think that would be pretty cool if you're a first-year student. That's your digital assistant that grows up with you. And the promise of Moodle is lifelong learning. I mean, you can use that same platform wherever you go in the future, from workplace learning as well. And that second brain is I'm quite curious about that in future, how that is part and parcel. Where I was like, no one visits the LMS because it's a cool place to be, right? You go there to learn. And that is where I'm very excited to see how the artificial intelligence is applied in the future.
Matabo, what about lifelong learning from a university perspective? How important is that to UNISA?
It is very important to us. I mean, we offer not just degree programs, but we offer short learning programs, and we use Moodle for both of those types of tracks of learning. And we want our alumni to continue to have very positive experiences with us. So the ability to offer just beyond your degree program or beyond the SLP, and to offer an experience that I would hope one day, Stefan, that we don't have a situation where we go to the LMS because we have to, that our AI assistant would be across all our platforms and our devices, and we would go there by choice. And finding that sweet spot is one of my, shall I say, research interests when it comes to platform economies. But Natanya, back to your question. For us, it's very important, and we would want technology to enable us to be able to create an experience that is beyond the degree program or the SLP, and that you would be on a journey with us as part of our alumni, and we would find ways to offer you those learning opportunities as you follow your journey beyond us. And I think that the various technology elements we've spoken about in Moodle give us that potential to be able to build that kind of customized experience.
Fantastic, very exciting. We're all studying, I think, about maybe a decade too early. It'll be interesting to see what education looks like at university level as time progresses, right? Things are moving so quickly, and it's really important to have partners with you that can adapt to that. Now, Lady, from your perspective, what makes a really successful implementation?
A number of things.
Late nights.
Late nights. No weekends. No, a plan, right? I think the most success that I've seen in this space, in most implementations, is having a good and a solid digital strategy, because the LMS would just be a part of it, right? So the successful implementation is to have a solid strategy for one, and then for two is to have an implementation partner with solid experience too, right? Sometimes because Moodle is open source, people tend to think that you can't just download it, and technically you can. But for an institution such as yourself, that just would not be, it's a non-starter. So having an implementation partner with solid experience on Moodle, it's ensuring that you've got the right architecture just from the beginning, knowing that, and tested architecture, that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. UNISA has done it, UJ has done it, University of Ghent has done it, Open University in UK with over 200,000 students have done it. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel. The information is out there. So having the correct architecture and infrastructure in place to ensure that you do have that seamless hosting experience, you do have the scalability. And to my points earlier, training is so important, and ongoing training. What we did at UNISA is we had Moodle cafes during the implementation and right after during support. And these Moodle cafes enabled training that had close proximity with the experts in the room. And after that, I think it's important for institutions to have the support processes and structures in place to continue giving academics and learners that learning with close proximity. And then largely it's change management. I think you spoke to it earlier. Having a change management strategy, having a change management plan, and even having change champions who are sometimes, my recommendation would be all stakeholders have a group, right? So you've got the learners, you've got the academics, you've got the administrators, you've got the ICT team, you've got the executive. So you do need a champion across all the stakeholders to have that buy-in and to have that ownership in the institution.
Fantastic. And Adapt IT works across Africa. Which markets do you work in?
Ourselves?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so we are a partner in South Africa, Botswana, Kenya, Nigeria, and Mauritius, and Australasia, yes. So we're a partner in all those countries.
Fantastic. And Stefan, which markets do you work in?
From a Moodle perspective, we're a partner here in South Africa, but with some of the other products, we are active in 34 African countries, and then we've done some work in the UK as well, specifically more focused on our instructional design, digital content development work, which is platform agnostic, but more just, generic consulting work, yeah.
Fantastic. Well, folks, that's all we have time for. The Moodle stand is directly outside the door on my left. If anybody would like to come and have further conversations with any of our panelists, we'd love to chat to you further. But a very big thank you to Matabo, to Naledi, and to Stefan. We wish you a really successful rest of your conference. Thank you.